I'm Isla, 28 years old, and I never imagined feeling like an outsider in my own family home. Growing up in our big Boston suburb house, I always sensed I mattered less than my younger brother, Kyle. But nothing hit me harder than that dinner when my usual seat was given to Kyle's new wife, Gabriella. My mom stared right at me and said, "You don't belong here anymore." I slipped away, fighting tears, until Grandpa Harold stopped me with 5 words that shook me. "Where are you watching?" Hit like and subscribe before I dive deeper, because what happened next flipped my family's world upside down. Our house wasn't just any place. It was a stunning colonial-style home with white columns and a wraparound porch in a fancy Boston suburb. My grandfather, Harold, built it himself in the 60s, adding to it as our family grew. Every nook held memories, like height marks scratched on the kitchen doorframe, or the secret hideout Kyle and I crafted under the stairs. Kyle's my little brother, 3 years younger. As kids, we were glued at the hip. I'd pull him around the neighborhood in a red wagon, teach him to bike on our driveway, or shield him from school bullies. Our bond was so tight, parents noticed. I'd braid his teddy bear's fur. He'd collect bugs for me to study under my 10th birthday microscope. Winters meant snow forts, summers meant fireflies in jars. But things shifted as we grew. By high school, our bond started unraveling. Kyle shone as the football team's quarterback, while I dove into academics and debate club. Our lives split, and so did we. It started small, skipped movie nights, forgotten birthday cards. By the time I was college-bound and Kyle hit high school, we were like strangers sharing a house. My parents, Franklin and Elaine, weren't the cuddly type. Dad was a corporate attorney at a top Boston firm, and Mom ran our social life like a drill sergeant. They expected more from me than Kyle. "Isla, an A- is basically a B. Do better," Dad would say, barely eyeing my report card. Kyle's C's got praise. After all, he was balancing sports and school. Mom was the same. "Stand up, Isla. Nobody cares about your political opinions. Men don't like that," she'd hiss at dinner parties. But when Kyle spoke up, he was a leader. The double standards wore me down. By 18, I had to get out. I applied to colleges far from Boston, landing at UC Berkeley, across the country from the constant judgment. Leaving for college felt like my first real breath of freedom. College changed everything for me. I excelled, found friends who valued my smarts and humor, and graduated summa cum laude with an environmental law degree. I landed a job at a respected San Francisco firm focused on corporate sustainability, earning enough to live well in a pricey city. But stepping back into my family's house erased all that. Environmental law? Is that real law? Dad would sneer. "When will you find a husband and settle down?" Mom would ask before I'd even unpacked. Kyle stuck to the expected path. He went to Boston College, just 20 minutes from home, with our parents at every football game. After graduating, he joined Dad's law firm, got engaged to Gabriella, his college girlfriend, and bought a house near our parents. The ideal son, checking every box. The only one who seemed truly proud of me was Grandpa Harold. Unlike the rest, he was a self-made man who built his construction business from scratch. He respected hard work and free thinking. On my rare visits, we'd have private talks. "Tell me about saving those California redwoods," he'd say, his blue eyes bright with interest. "Your grandmother would have been so proud of you for standing up for your beliefs." Grandma Evelyn passed away 5 years ago, but I always felt close to her. She had a fierce spirit and a quiet rebellious streak. As the first woman in her family to go to college in the 50s, she cheered on my academic dreams. After her death, Grandpa moved to the guest house on our property, saying the main house held too many memories. When Kyle proposed to Gabriella, family tensions hit a new peak. She was stunning from a respected family, and crucially, the daughter of my dad's key business ally. My parents adored her from the start. Their wedding was a lavish event, splashed across Boston society pages. I was just a bridesmaid, barely knowing Gabriella. "Don't mention your environmental stuff at the reception," Mom warned, fussing with my dress. "This is Kyle and Gabriella's day, not about your frogs." I held my tongue, smiled for photos, and flew back to San Francisco the next morning, vowing to skip family visits for at least 6 months. I had no clue my next trip home would turn our family upside down. Gabriela Torres Montgomery was my parents' dream daughter-in-law. With her sleek dark hair, perfect smile, and Stanford business degree, she was everything Mom wanted me to be. As the daughter of Victor Montgomery, Dad's big business contact, she brought connections that thrilled him. I met her at a family dinner during a quick visit. She wore a chic designer dress and brought a homemade apple pie she casually whipped up. Mom was over the moon. "Gabriela, teach Isla to bake. She never got the hang of it," Mom said, giving me a sharp glance while patting Gabriela's hand. "I'd love to," Gabriela said, her smile cold. "Maybe a girl's day? I could help with your wardrobe too. California style is so different." I forced a grin and switched topics, but that set the vibe for us. Gabriela's subtle jabs, masked as kindness, won my parents over every time. Once Kyle and Gabriela got engaged, our family dynamic shifted hard. Sunday dinners, once neutral ground, became all about Gabriela. Mom asked her about menus, Dad sought her investment advice, and Kyle looked at her like she hung the stars. I was pushed to the sidelines. My usual seat at Dad's left went to Gabriela. My childhood bedroom became her office when they visited, my stuff boxed up and stashed in the attic without a word. "We're making room for the next generation," Mom said when I found my debate trophies in a dusty box. "Gabriela needs space to work. You're barely here." Everything I did to fit in flopped. I brought a pricey bottle of wine to dinner. Dad called it pretentious. I tried cooking with farmers market ingredients, but Mom helped by drowning my vegan dish in butter and cream. Behind my back, Gabriela's barbs got sharper. A cousin told me she called me the family charity case and mocked my job as playing in the dirt with hippies. To my face, she was all fake smiles and sneaky insults. "That outfit's bold, Isla. I couldn't wear something so casual to dinner." "Your San Francisco place sounds quaint. Must be nice not stressing over a big house." "Your job sounds so meaningful. Prioritizing passion over money must feel great." Each dig cut me down while making her seem caring. My family bought it completely. Kyle, who once had my back, started sounding like Gabriela. "Isla, maybe move back to Boston and get a real job," he said on a rare call. "Dad could hook you up at the firm. You're turning 30 soon. Time to get serious." "I am serious," I said, hiding my hurt. "I just made junior partner at my firm." His tone showed what he thought of that. "Gabriela thinks you'd be happier on a traditional path. She's worried you're alone out there." That's when I knew I'd lost him. He wasn't seeing me anymore, just Gabriela's version of me. I once tried talking to my parents about feeling left out. At Thanksgiving, I caught Mom alone while she stirred cranberry sauce. "Mom, since Kyle married Gabriela, I feel like I don't belong in this family," I said softly. She put down her spoon, her face a mix of pity and frustration. "Isla, you chose to be an outsider by moving away and rejecting our values. Gabriela's here building a life with Kyle, maybe giving us grandkids. What do you bring but complaints and odd ideas?" Her words hit hard. I packed my bag, booked an earlier flight to San Francisco, and left. Dad didn't even leave his study to say goodbye. That awful Thanksgiving made me pull back. I skipped Christmas, blaming work. I mailed birthday and anniversary gifts instead of showing up. In San Francisco, I built a life with friends who valued me and colleagues who respected my work. I bought a small, beautiful apartment with money I saved myself. Boston faded into a place of pain, not warm memories. I dove into my job, taking extra cases and speaking at conferences, earning a strong reputation. Success hid the hurt of being the family let down. By most measures, I was thriving, career, independence, a full life. But to my family, without a husband or kids, I was a failure for not fitting their mold. For nearly 2 years, I kept my distance. I called Grandpa weekly but limited family contact to stiff holiday texts and rare, awkward calls. It wasn't perfect, but it protected my heart. Then came a call that changed everything. It was a Tuesday evening in April, when Mom's name lit up my phone. I hesitated, expecting the usual criticism. "Isla dear, how are you?" Her overly bright tone put me on edge. "I'm fine, Mom. Busy with work. You and Dad okay?" "We're great. Listen, we're having a special family dinner this Saturday. We'd love for you to come. It's been too long." The invite threw me off. No holidays or birthdays were near. Saturday? That's 4 days away. I can't just drop everything and fly across the country. We'll cover your ticket, she said fast. It's important you're here with the whole family. Her urgency sparked my curiosity. Mom never begged. Is everything okay? Is Grandpa all right? He's fine, better than fine, she said, pausing. Isla, please. It'd mean a lot to Dad and me if you came, just this once. The guilt was familiar, but her insistence felt new. Despite my doubts, a spark of hope flickered. Maybe they missed me. Maybe this was a chance to mend things. Okay, I said. I'll figure out work. Send me the details. After hanging up, I stared at my phone. Part of me dreamed of a fresh start with my family. The realistic part braced for more disappointment. Still, I shuffled my schedule, handed off work to colleagues, and booked a red-eye to Boston for Friday. I splurged on a dress, professional yet festive, something Mom couldn't critique. I also grabbed gifts: scotch for Dad, a silk scarf for Mom, a rare Boston architecture book for Grandpa, and a fancy serving platter for Kyle and Gabriella from their wedding registry. The night before my flight, Grandpa called. His warm, gravelly voice eased my nerves. Isla, my girl, you're coming for the big dinner? Yeah, Grandpa, but I don't know what it's about. A pause. Mom didn't tell you? Just that it's a special dinner, and everyone's expected. Another pause. They must want it to be a surprise. But Isla, promise me you won't leave early, no matter how hurt or angry you feel. Can you do that? His words stirred unease. Grandpa, you're worrying me. What's up? Nothing to fear, he said. Just an old man asking you to stay patient. Promise you'll stay till the end. I promise, I said, my curiosity spiking. You'd tell me if it was serious, right? It'll all make sense tomorrow, he said mysteriously. And Isla, I'm so proud of you. Always have been. His words carried me through the long flight, the bumpy taxi from Logan Airport, and the drive through my old neighborhood's winding streets. As we neared the house, nostalgia and dread hit me. The house stood unchanged. Grand white columns, pristine lawn, and Mom's perfect spring flower beds. It brought back memories, running through sprinklers, building snowmen, heading to prom in a Mom-approved dress, and leaving for college with relief and fear. This house shaped me for better or worse. The taxi driver grabbed my suitcase, and I took a deep breath before climbing the familiar front steps. Before I could knock, Mom opened the door, her perfect hair framing a polite smile that didn't touch her eyes. Isla, you're here. How was the flight? She air-kissed my cheek, her pricey perfume stirring old memories. It was okay, Mom. Thanks for inviting me. Stepping into the foyer felt like entering a museum. Same antique table, same fancy mirror, same fear I'd break something. Everyone's in the living room. Your dad's mixing drinks, Mom said, eyeing my outfit. That dress is nice. New. Yeah, bought it for tonight. Her lack of criticism shocked me so much I almost missed the laughter from the living room. I followed her, bracing myself for what was coming. The living room screamed family bliss, and I felt like an outsider. Dad stood at the bar cart, pouring what looked like top-shelf whiskey. Kyle and Gabriella cozied up on the sofa, his arm around her, their heads close in private talk. Only Grandpa looked up, his warm smile welcoming me. There's my girl, he said, standing slowly from his armchair to hug me tight. Remember your promise, he whispered before letting go. Dad nodded my way. Isla, drink. Kyle finally noticed me. Hey sis, been a while. His casual tone ignored the months of silence. Gabriella turned and I saw it instantly. She glowed, her hand resting on her stomach. It hit me, she was pregnant. Kyle was going to be a dad. Mom had dragged me here for this news, despite our rocky relationship and the miles, physical and emotional, between us. A mix of feelings hit me. A strange joy at the thought of being an aunt, pain at being an afterthought again, and acceptance that I was always the odd one out in these family moments. Sit, Isla, Mom said, pointing to a chair off to the side. I took it, grabbing the gin and tonic Dad offered. The next hour was awkward small talk. I learned Kyle made junior partner at Dad's firm, Gabriella redid their house, and my parents planned a Mediterranean cruise. No one asked about my San Francisco life or my recent promotion. I was there but unseen, just a spectator. Grandpa tried, asking about a case I'd mentioned on our last call. I barely started answering when Gabriella cut in, mentioning nausea, and all eyes swung back to her. The stage was set for a dinner I'd never forget, one that stung deeply. "Dinner's ready," Mom announced at 7 o'clock sharp, like always. We moved to the formal dining room, reserved for big occasions. The table sparkled with heirloom china, crystal glasses, and silver flatware. Candles glowed in fancy holders, and a pricey floral centerpiece stole the show. Mom had gone all out. I headed for my usual seat by Dad's left, but Gabriella was already there, her smile smug. "Hope you don't mind, Isla. Elaine thought I should sit here since." She patted her stomach. Before I could speak, Mom was at my side. "Isla, take the seat by your grandfather." It was a clear step down in the family order. I looked to Dad for support, but he was busy with the wine, avoiding my eyes. I swallowed my pain and sat by Grandpa, who squeezed my hand under the table. A small comfort that meant everything. Dad kicked off dinner with a toast. "To family," he said, glass raised, eyes on Gabriella's flat stomach. "And new beginnings." Kyle stood, grinning. "Speaking of that, Gabriella and I have news." He gazed at her lovingly. "We're expecting a baby in November." I'd guessed it, but I forced a smile and joined the congratulations. Mom dabbed her eyes with a napkin. "A grandchild," she said, voice shaky. "I'm finally a grandmother." Dad lifted his glass again. "And I'm a grandfather. To the next generation." The talk turned to Gabriella's pregnancy, nursery plans, and guesses about the baby's gender. My parents hoped for a boy to carry the family name. Gabriella hinted she felt it was a boy too. "We're already checking preschools," she said. "Boston's best have long waiting lists." Mom nodded. "Your dad can call Phillips Academy. Legacy still matters." I poked at my roast beef and asparagus, feeling like a stranger. No one asked about my life or job. I was invisible at my own family's table. During a quiet moment, I shared a childhood memory about Kyle, but he brushed it off, diving back into baby talk. "We might turn our guest room into a nursery," he said, "but it's probably too small." Dad put down his fork. "Your mom and I have been thinking. This house is made for a family, 5 bedrooms, a big yard. Maybe you and Gabriella should move in." I nearly choked on my wine. "What about you and Mom? And Grandpa in the guest house?" Dad shrugged. "Your mom wants to downsize. We could get a condo in the city." "And Grandpa?" I pressed. Dad glanced at him, his face blank. "We'd find him a place." "A place?" I snapped, my voice sharp. "Grandpa's lived in the guest house since Grandma died. It's his home." Mom cut in. "Isla, this is a family discussion. We're just considering options." "Am I not family?" I blurted out. Silence fell. Mom's lips tightened. Dad stared at his plate. Kyle shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing. Gabriella spoke up. "Isla, you've made your priorities clear. You moved across the country, rarely visit, skip family events. Now we're planning for the future, and you're upset you're not the focus." Her words stung. I set my fork down, staying calm. "That's not what I said. I just want Grandpa to have a say in his home." "No one's pushing anyone out," Dad said firmly. "We're thinking of the family's future." "The whole family, or just the parts you like?" I asked softly. Mom's face reddened. "Enough, Isla. This is a celebration, not a stage for your complaints." "I'm not complaining," I said. "I just think Grandpa deserves a voice." "Harold gets family duty," Mom snapped, "unlike some at this table." Her words marked me as the outsider who didn't fit. "Maybe Isla would be happier eating in the kitchen," Gabriella said sweetly, "since she's set on ruining our night." I stared, shocked, then looked to Kyle for support. He just studied his plate, torn but silent. Mom stood. "That's best. Isla, if you can't be positive, leave the table." "Mom." I started, but she stopped me. "No. You chose to leave this family years ago. You don't get to swoop in and judge our lives or plans." "I left because I never felt I belonged," I whispered. Mom's face hardened. "You're right. You don't belong here, Isla. Not anymore." Her words hit like punches. I searched the table for someone to speak up for me. Dad stared at his glass. Kyle studied his hands. Gabriella smirked. Only Grandpa met my eyes, his gaze full of sadness and resolve. I set my napkin by my half-eaten plate and stood. I'm going to pack. I'll catch a late flight to San Francisco. No one stopped me. No one spoke. I left the dining room, holding back tears, keeping my head high until I reached the guest room. My hands shook as I stuffed clothes into my suitcase. All I wanted was to escape this house and its people. The hope I'd had for a fresh start was gone. As I zipped my suitcase, a soft knock came. I expected Grandpa, but it was Kyle, looking uneasy. Isla, I'm sorry about downstairs. Really? I asked, too drained to be gentle. You sat there while your wife said I should eat in the kitchen like a kid, and Mom said I don't belong. He looked ashamed. It's messy. Gabriella's pregnant. Hormones are wild, and Mom and Dad are just thrilled about the baby. That's no excuse to treat me like I'm nothing, I said softly. Kyle ran a hand through his hair, a move that tugged at childhood memories. Maybe you should head back to California. Let things cool off. I'll talk to them. His tone made it clear he wouldn't fight for me. He just wanted the tension, and me, gone, so he could return to his perfect life. Goodbye, Kyle, I said, grabbing my suitcase. Congrats on the baby. I hope you're a better dad than you've been a brother. I headed downstairs, pulling out my phone to call a taxi. In the foyer, I paused to steady myself, refusing to cry. Then I heard shouting from the dining room. This isn't what Evelyn wanted. Grandpa's usually soft voice boomed. She'd be ashamed of how you treated Isla tonight. Dad, please, my father said. Isla chose to reject everything we offered her. You never offered her acceptance, Grandpa snapped. You never let her be herself. I crept closer, drawn to the argument. She abandoned us, Mom insisted. She has no right to judge our choices. Choices about a house that might not be yours to make, Grandpa said mysteriously. A pause. Then Dad's confused voice. What do you mean, Harold? Before I heard more, the front door opened. My taxi was here. It was time to leave this house and its painful memories, maybe forever. I grabbed my suitcase, my heart heavy but my resolve strong. I'd build a life without people who couldn't accept me. I'd find a family and friends who valued me. As I reached for the doorknob, Grandpa's voice stopped me. Isla, wait. Don't go yet. I turned to see him, leaning on his cane, his face set with determination. Come back to the dining room. Everyone needs to hear this. Grandpa's warm hand guided me back. I hesitated at the dining room door, dreading more hurt, but his steady gaze gave me strength. Something big was coming, and he believed it was worth staying for. The dining room was tense. My parents sat stiffly, their faces tight with anger. Kyle fidgeted with his napkin, uneasy. Gabriella's expression was cold and smug. All eyes turned to us. Harold, Isla was leaving, Mom said icily. No, she's not, Grandpa said with surprising force. She stays because this is about her most of all. He led me to my seat and stood tall, looking stronger than his 82 years. I plan to do this differently, he said. But after tonight's treatment of Isla, I can't wait. Dad, can't this wait till tomorrow? My father asked, dodging more drama. No, Franklin, it can't. Grandpa pulled an envelope from his jacket. This will change our family and it's overdue. He set it on the table. Before Evelyn died, she made plans for this house. Plans she asked me to keep secret until the right time. That time is now. Mom frowned. What plans? This house has been Franklin's family's for generations. Not quite, Elaine, Grandpa said firmly. I built it, but 20 years ago, Evelyn and I put it in her name for tax reasons. It was hers to decide on. Dad leaned forward, confused. What are you saying? I'm saying Evelyn changed her will before she died. She left this house to Isla. The room froze, then exploded. That's impossible, Dad stammered. It's a mistake, Mom insisted. Kyle sat stunned, Gabriella's face red with anger. I was floored. Grandpa, what? Grandma left me the house? Why? He opened the envelope, spreading legal papers on the table. Evelyn saw your strength, Isla. Your drive to forge your own path. She feared our family's rigid ways would crush you. He handed Dad a document, who read it in disbelief. This can't be legal, Dad muttered. It's legal, Grandpa said. Multiple lawyers checked it. The house has been in a trust for Isla since Evelyn's death. I've managed it, waiting for the right moment to tell her. Why pick now mid-dinner? Mom asked, her voice sharp with disbelief. Not now, Grandpa Harold said firmly. I plan to wait until Isla turned 30, 2 years from now. But after you said she doesn't belong in this house, her house, I had to speak. I stared at him, reeling. Why didn't Grandma tell me? Why hide it? She wanted you free to find yourself first, without this weighing you down. She knew you needed to grow into your strength before taking on this house's legacy. Dad slammed his hand on the table. This is betrayal. The house should stay with those who value its traditions. Like you? I asked softly. The ones planning to move Grandpa out for Kyle and Gabriella's baby? Gabriella's eyes narrowed. You can't just claim our family home. It's not yours, Grandpa said gently. It's been Isla's since Evelyn died 5 years ago. Kyle spoke up. So now what? Isla boots us out, sells the house, gets even for how we treated her. All eyes turned to me. The family power had shifted, putting me in a role I never wanted. This house, full of childhood pain and rejection, was mine. I need time to think, I said. This is too much. There's nothing to think about, Mom snapped, standing. This is a mistake. We'll fight it. Sit, Elaine, Grandpa said sharply. Evelyn's will is airtight. She made sure. He looked at me. Isla, I know it's a lot, but Evelyn believed in you. She trusted you'd make the right call. I scanned my family's faces. Dad's anger, Mom's denial, Kyle's confusion, Gabriella's scheming. Then it hit me. Grandma hadn't just given me a house. She'd given me power to reshape my place in this family. I need air, I said, standing. Grandpa, join me on the porch? He nodded, and we left the stunned dining room. Outside, the cool spring night sparkled with early stars. Why keep it secret? I asked, sitting on my old favorite porch swing. Evelyn was clear, he said. She wanted you to build your life first, to know your strength without this house pulling you back to Boston or pushing you away. She knew me well, I said, smiling faintly. Better than you think. She saved all your college letters, read them over and over. She was so proud of you. Tears stung my eyes. I miss her. Me too, every day, he said, patting my hand. But she'd love seeing you now, standing tall, living your way. What do I do with a Boston house when my life's in San Francisco? Whatever you choose, he said. Live here, sell it, rent it, share it, your call. Inside, I heard angry voices as my family grappled with the news. Their world had flipped, just like mine. They'll hate me, I whispered. Maybe, Grandpa said. But now you set the terms of your family ties. Evelyn gave you that power. Sitting there, watching night settle over my childhood neighborhood, I saw new possibilities. This wasn't just about a house. It was about claiming my place in a family that sidelined me. It was about defining what family meant to me. For the first time in years, I felt I belonged. Not because they accepted me, but because I could decide what belonging was. The next morning brought clear skies and tension. I'd lain awake in the guest room, sorting through my thoughts. By dawn, I knew my path. In the kitchen, my family was a storm of unease. Mom scrubbed spotless counters. Dad hid behind his newspaper. Kyle and Gabriella whispered close together. When I walked in, everything stopped. Good morning, I said, pouring coffee. Silence greeted me. Grandpa joined us, giving me an encouraging nod. I set my cup down and took a deep breath. We need to talk about what's next, I started. Nothing to talk about, Dad snapped, folding his newspaper sharply. We'll fight this so-called inheritance. My mother wasn't thinking straight. Franklin, Grandpa warned. Don't disrespect Evelyn. She knew exactly what she did. Mom faced me, her eyes cold and calculating. Isla, this is wrong. You live in California. You don't need this house. Kyle's starting a family, carrying on the legacy this house was built for. A legacy that shuts out anyone who doesn't fit your mold? I asked softly. That's not fair, Kyle cut in. We've always supported you. I couldn't help but laugh. Support? When Dad called my career fake. When Mom told me to eat in the kitchen for caring about Grandpa. When you stayed silent while Gabriella insulted me. Kyle looked uneasy. Gabriella didn't flinch. This is revenge, she said, hand on her stomach. You're jealous of our family, so you're stealing our home. It's not revenge, I said firmly. I didn't know the house was mine until last night. But it is, so we need a plan. Dad stood face red. You can't dictate terms. This has been our home for years. Legally she can, Grandpa said calmly. I raised a hand. I don't want a fight. I want a solution that works for everyone. Including you? Mom asked sharply. Yes, for once my needs matter too. My bluntness stunned them quiet. I kept going. I thought all night and decided, I'm not selling the house. Relief flashed across my parents' faces, but Gabriella stayed wary. Things change now, I said. This house is mine. If you want to stay or visit, there are new rules. Rules? Dad scoffed. You're giving your parents orders? Yes. First, respect. No more dismissing my career or choices. I'm not an outsider in my own home. Mom tried to speak, but I pushed on. Second, Grandpa stays in the guest house as long as he wants, no pressure. Grandpa gave a small smile. Third, this is a family home where everyone's valued equally, including me, whether I'm here or in California. What about us? Kyle asked. Gabriella and I want to raise our family here. I looked at my brother, remembering our childhood closeness. Kyle, I'd never block you from this house. You're my brother, and I love you. Your kid will be my niece or nephew, and I want to be in their life. His face softened. I turned to Gabriella. But that welcome is only for those who treat me with respect. No more sly insults or pushing me out. Gabriella's eyes narrowed. So you control who's welcome now? Yes, I said plainly. That's what owning the house means. I'm not shutting anyone out, just setting boundaries we always needed. Dad stood abruptly. This is absurd. You can't show up after years and make rules. I didn't leave by choice, I said quietly. You made it clear I didn't fit. Now I can build the family I always wanted. One that respects differences. And if we don't agree? Mom asked coldly. I held her gaze. Then you choose. This can start a better relationship for us all, or it can end things. I'm done being bullied, even by my parents. The kitchen went quiet, my words sinking in. I'd finally spoken my truth, raw and unapologetic. Kyle broke the silence. Isla's right. Everyone stared shocked. We haven't been fair, he said, avoiding Gabriella's glare. I haven't been fair. She deserves better from us, especially me. Kyle, Gabriella started, but he shook his head. No, I let this go too far. Isla's my sister and I've failed her. He looked at me, regret in his eyes. I'm sorry, Isla. Really? Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you, I said softly. My parents shared a look, years of silent understanding passing between them. Dad sighed heavily. I guess we'll consider your terms, he said reluctantly. You always have a choice, I replied. I'm giving us all a chance to build something better than before. Grandpa stepped forward, his hand warm on my shoulder. Evelyn would be proud, he said softly. This is why she left you the house, to heal this family. Or tear it apart, Mom muttered. No, I said firmly. I don't want to destroy anything, just create something honest and open. Gabriella stood abruptly. I need air, she said and left the kitchen. Kyle hesitated, then trailed after her. My parents stayed, their faces mixed with anger, disbelief, and maybe a hint of respect. This isn't how we raised you, Mom said sharply. Maybe that's the issue, I shot back. If you'd let me be me, we wouldn't be here. Dad ran a hand through his gray hair, a gesture Kyle mirrored. What do you want, Isla? What I've always wanted. Acceptance, respect, love without strings. And the house, he asked. Are you moving back? No, I said. My life's in California. But I'll visit more, and when I do, I want to feel welcome in my home. Otherwise. Mom pressed. You and Dad stay here. Kyle and Gabriella visit as usual. Grandpa keeps the guest house. The difference is we all know I own it, and we treat each other with respect. It wasn't perfect, and my parents weren't thrilled, but it was a start, a shift in the family power that had ruled us too long. In the kitchen where I'd spent countless childhood mornings, I felt something new, hope. Not a kid's desperate wish for approval, but an adult's quiet confidence in my worth and my fight for the ties that matter. Whether my family could meet that challenge was unclear, but I felt ready for what came next. Grandma's house was more than a building. It was the base for a new family chapter. A year later, I stood on my house's front porch, watching autumn leaves scatter across the lawn. The change hadn't been smooth, but we'd made progress. After the shock faded, my family started adjusting to our new reality. Dad, ever practical, accepted it first after lawyers confirmed Grandma's will was solid. She was always stubborn, he said on one of our new weekly calls, almost admiringly. Guess you got that from her. From him, that was high praise. Mom took longer. Early months were rough, full of sharp comments and subtle jabs. But she eventually saw that her bond with me was worth more than her pride. The shift came when Kyle and Gabriella's son, James Harold, was born, named after Grandpa. I flew to Boston for the birth, unsure of my welcome, but set on meeting my nephew. Surprisingly, Gabriella texted me, "We want you here. Family belongs together now." It wasn't an apology, but it was a step, and I took it gladly. Holding James, feeling his tiny fingers grip mine, I felt a love so strong it eased old wounds. This little boy knew nothing of our family's messy past. To him, I was just Aunt Isla, free to shape that role as I wanted. "He's got your eyes," Gabriella said softly from her hospital bed. "Same shape. Must be a family thing." It was her first nod to me as true family. The moment was brief, but it lingered. Kyle's transformation into a father caught me completely off guard. I had expected him to be overwhelmed, perhaps even distant, given how wrapped up he'd been in his own world. But instead, he stepped into the role with a quiet maturity that reminded me of the boy I grew up with. The one who trusted me with his secrets and looked to me for guidance. It wasn't an overnight change, but as the months passed, I saw glimpses of the old Kyle emerging, the one who laughed easily and shared everything with me. We began rebuilding our relationship in small ways at first. A phone call here, a text there, checking in on each other's days without the underlying tension that had defined our interactions for years. It felt tentative, like testing thin ice, but with each conversation, the cracks began to heal. One weekend, during one of my visits to Boston, Kyle suggested we sit on the porch swing while baby James napped inside. The swing creaked under our weight, just like it did when we were kids, swinging our legs and dreaming up adventures. "Remember when we used to catch fireflies in the backyard?" Kyle asked, his voice soft, almost nostalgic. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the lawn, and the air carried that familiar scent of fresh-cut grass mixed with distant barbecue smoke from neighbors. I turned to him, surprised he brought it up. Those summer evenings felt like a lifetime ago, when life was simple and our biggest worry was whether we'd catch enough fireflies to fill a jar. "You always insisted on releasing them before we went to bed," he continued, a small smile tugging at his lips. "You'd say they had families waiting for them, and it wasn't fair to keep them trapped." I nodded, the memory flooding back vividly. The way the fireflies' lights flickered like tiny stars in our hands, the excitement of the chase, and the quiet satisfaction of setting them free. "You remember that?" I asked, my voice catching a bit. It was such a specific detail, one I thought only I held on to. "I remember a lot of things," Kyle admitted, his gaze fixed on the horizon. He paused as if gathering his thoughts, and I could see the weight of the past year in his eyes. The arguments, the revelations, the shifts in our family, including how I failed you when you needed me to stand up for you. "I'm so sorry, Isla, more than I can say." His words hung in the air, heavy with regret. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I blinked them away, not wanting to break the moment. For so long, I'd carried the hurt of his silence, but hearing him acknowledge it now felt like a balm. We were both caught in patterns that weren't of our making, I told him, reaching out to squeeze his hand. The patterns of favoritism, of expectations that boxed us in. Him as the golden child, me as the outsider. But we get to choose different patterns now. Kyle nodded, and in that shared silence, I felt the bridge between us strengthening. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and for the first time in years, I had my brother back, not as a rival or a stranger, but as an ally. Grandpa Harold, on the other hand, seemed to bloom like a flower in spring after that fateful dinner. For years, he'd carried the weight of Grandma's secret, a burden that aged him more than time ever could. But now, free from that silence, he moved with a renewed energy, his steps lighter, his laughter more frequent. He still lived in the guest house, that cozy little space tucked away at the edge of the property, but he spent more and more time in the main house, especially after James arrived. James's birth brought a new spark to Grandpa's eyes. He dove into great-grandfatherhood with the enthusiasm of a man half his age, cradling the baby with gentle hands that had built this very house decades ago. I'd find him in the rocking chair by the window, James bundled in a soft blanket, as Grandpa spun tales from our family's past, stories of ancestors who crossed oceans, of love letters hidden in attics, of triumphs and heartbreaks that shaped who we are. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the room in warm oranges, Grandpa rocked James to sleep while I sat nearby, sipping tea. "Your grandmother would have adored him," he said, his voice a soft rumble. I could picture her there, her strong hands guiding the rocker, her eyes twinkling with that quiet rebellion I loved. She always had a special talent for seeing the truth in people, even before they could see it themselves. "Is that why she left me the house?" I asked, the question slipping out as I watched James's tiny chest rise and fall. "Because she saw something in me that I couldn't see?" Grandpa looked up, his faded blue eyes meeting mine with a depth of understanding. "She saw your strength," he replied simply. "And she knew that someday you'd need to claim your place in this family in a way that couldn't be denied." His words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, affirming what I'd begun to feel, that this inheritance was more than bricks and mortar. It was a vote of confidence from the one person who always believed in me. I kept my word about the house, honoring the terms I'd set that morning after the revelation. My parents continued to live there, but with a subtle shift. They were now my guests in what had always been their domain. It was an uncomfortable adjustment at first, filled with awkward silences and tentative conversations. Mom would catch herself mid-sentence sometimes, biting back a critical remark about my career or choices. Dad, ever the stoic attorney, navigated it with pragmatic acceptance, though I could see the pride he struggled to swallow. Over time, though, something unexpected happened. The discomfort gave way to a new respect, a mutual acknowledgement that we were all navigating uncharted waters. I made small changes to stamp my ownership on the place, nothing drastic, but enough to remind everyone, and myself, that this was my home now. In the entry hall, where Grandpa's formal portrait had hung alone for years, I added a photograph of Grandma as a young woman, her hair windswept, her smile defiant. Mom had once deemed it too informal for display, but now it hung there, a testament to the woman who orchestrated this all. I also restored my childhood bedroom, hauling my old belongings down from the attic where they'd been banished. Dusting off debate trophies, flipping through yellowed journals, arranging books on shelves. It felt like reclaiming pieces of myself that had been tucked away. And at the entrance, I commissioned a small bronze plaque, simple and elegant. "The Evelyn Montgomery House, a home for all who seek belonging." Every time I walked past it, it grounded me, a quiet declaration of what this place now stood for. Meanwhile, my career in San Francisco continued to flourish, reaching heights I once only dreamed of. I was promoted to full partner at my firm, a milestone that came with late nights and hard-fought victories in courtrooms advocating for environmental justice. But I didn't stop there. I expanded my practice to include more pro bono work, taking on cases for communities fighting pollution, defending indigenous lands from corporate encroachment. It was fulfilling in a way that filled the voids family once left empty. To bridge my two worlds, I visited Boston every 2 months, staying for a full week each time. I'd work remotely from the house, setting up my laptop in the sunlit study, handling calls amid the familiar creaks and echoes. These visits became anchors, opportunities to nurture the fragile new bonds we'd formed. We started a fresh tradition of Sunday dinners, but nothing like the tense affairs of the past. Now everyone pitched in, Dad chopping vegetables with surprising precision, Mom stirring pots while sharing rare stories from her youth, Kyle and Gabriella bringing desserts, Grandpa overseeing with his wise commentary. The dinners were lively, conversations flowing freely, touching on everything from politics to baby milestones. And crucially, everyone had a permanent place at the table, including me. No more demotions or sidelining. I'd sit there, passing dishes, laughing at James's antics as he grew from a newborn to a toddler, and feel a sense of inclusion I'd longed for. It was during one of these dinners, celebrating Grandpa's 83rd birthday, that he pulled me aside. The house buzzed with warmth, candles flickering on the cake, laughter echoing from the dining room. We stepped out onto the porch, the cool evening air a contrast to the cozy inside. "I have something for you," Grandpa said, his voice steady as he pressed an envelope into my hands. "Another letter from your grandmother." My heart skipped as I opened it, the paper slightly yellowed with age, Grandma's elegant script dancing across the page like a familiar melody. "My dearest Isla, if you're reading this, then Harold has given you the house, and you've found your voice within our family. The house isn't just wood and stone. It's a physical representation of your rightful place in this world. Property can be powerful, but remember that true belonging comes not from ownership, but from the courage to be yourself and the wisdom to create space for others to do the same. The greatest inheritance I can leave you is not this house, but the knowledge that you're worthy of love and respect exactly as you are. Use this gift to build the family you deserve, whether that family is related by blood or by choice. With all my love, Grandma Evelyn." Tears blurred my vision as I carefully folded the letter, her words resonating deep within me. "She knew," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "Somehow, she knew exactly what would happen." Grandpa nodded, a sad smile softening his features. "Evelyn was wise that way," he said. "She understood that sometimes the greatest act of love is giving someone the power to redefine the relationships that have caused them pain." We rejoined the family inside, where the scene unfolded like a painting of reconciliation. My parents doted on baby James, cooing as he clapped his chubby hands. Kyle and Gabriella sat relaxed, no trace of the old tension in their postures as they chatted with me about everyday things. In that moment, I realized Grandma's true gift wasn't the house itself, but the opportunity it provided to heal old wounds, to forge a new understanding of what family could be. Ownership, I'd learned through this journey, wasn't about wielding power or exerting control. It was about responsibility, about crafting a space where everyone could show up as their authentic selves without fear of judgment or exclusion. Grandma had given me not just property, but the tools to build the sense of belonging I'd always craved, turning a place of pain into one of possibility. That night, as everyone prepared to leave, Mom surprised me. She pulled me into a genuine embrace, her arms tighter than I remembered. "Thank you for dinner," she said quietly, her voice carrying a vulnerability I'd rarely heard. "And for everything else." It wasn't a full apology for the years of dismissal, but in Mom's reserved language, it was a significant step forward, an acknowledgement of the changes we'd all made. "You're welcome, Mom," I replied, returning the hug with equal warmth. "This is what family's supposed to be." Standing on the porch, I waved goodbye as the cars pulled away, James sleeping peacefully in his car seat, Kyle and Gabriella walking hand in hand to theirs, my parents driving off with a final wave. The night air was crisp, stars twinkling overhead, and for the first time, I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. The house behind me stood solid, its lights glowing softly, but it was more than mine in title. I'd finally carved out my place within the family that once made me feel so unwelcome. Not by bending to their expectations or changing who I was, but by standing firmly in my truth and creating a new definition of belonging that embraced us all, flaws, differences, and all. In the end, Grandma's gift transcended the physical. It wasn't just a house. It was the profound understanding that true belonging isn't found in the places where you're grudgingly accepted, but in the spaces where you have the courage to be your authentic self. Sometimes, that means claiming your rightful place, even when others would deny it to you. And in doing so, opening the door for healing and growth. Have you ever had to stand up for your place in your family or redefine what belonging means to you? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more about my journey. And if you know someone who might need to hear that they deserve to belong exactly as they are, please share this video with them. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to claim the space that was always meant to be yours.